The Economic Community of Central African States, or ECOWAS, has announced that it is maintaining its suspension of Gabon, a sanction imposed following the military overthrow of President Ali Bongo Ondimba last August. ECOWAS is following in the footsteps of the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, regional bloc, which took drastic measures to isolate or even issue sanctions to coup-hit countries. Here is our cover report.
It was one-of-a-kind summit at Equatorial Guinea. The Economic Community of Central African States came up with a unanimous decision that it was maintaining the suspension of Gabon, a sanction imposed after the overthrow of President Ali Bongo Ondimba by the military last August. In a communique at the end of a summit, the ECOWAS said that it has recognized the peaceful and inclusive nature of the Gabonese transition and has decided to maintain the decision to suspend Gabon's participation in community activities until constitutional order is restored. Apart from Equatorial Guinea, 8 other Central African states were present at the summit.
While taking into account the peaceful and inclusive nature of the political transition underway in the Gabonese Republic and the need to accompany this member state towards a return to constitutional order, the conference decided to maintain the decision to suspend Gabon's participation in community activities until a return to constitutional order, in accordance with the text of the Community and African Union.
The lifting of this sanction would have been the first step towards reintegration of Gabon on the international stage, almost 4 months after the coup led to condemnation from Western capitals and Gabon's suspension from the African Union. Popular with the vast majority of Gabonese for having put an end to 55 years of the Bongo dynasty, the leader of the coup plotters on August 30th, General Brice Oligui Nguema, was proclaimed transitional president by the army. He immediately promised to return power to civilians at the end of a transition period. If the timetable is respected, the transition will last 2 years and elections will be held in August 2025. Since taking power, General Oligui has met with all leaders of ECOWAS member countries with the exception of Angolan President João Lourenço. ECOWAS is not the only regional body stressing on what to do with coups in their borders. ECOWAS, or the Economic Community of West African States, faces the same dilemma in their region, and now the bloc has decided to negotiate with Niamey for a short transition roadmap that can potentially lift sweeping economic sanctions. The proposed commission will be composed of Togolese president and his counterparts from Sierra Leone and Benin, as well as representatives from Nigeria, which is the current chair of ECOWAS. While ECOWAS sanctions have worked to isolate Niger, in September Niamey joined Burkina Faso and Mali to form the Alliance of Sahel States, a pact for the establishment of collective defense and mutual assistance. While the AES emphasized that security cooperation was one of its core aims, General Chiani stated during a recent interview that the alliance must evolve in the political domain and in the monetary domain. There is historical precedent for such a formation on the African continent, particularly during the period of decolonization, including when Pan-Africanist revolutionary leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Ahmed Sékou Touré and Modibo Keïta came together to form the Ghana-Guinea-Mali Union, or the Union of African States. The Democratic Republic of Congo was all set to join the Union just before the assassination of its first president, Patrice Lumumba, in a US-backed coup. Burkina Faso, Mali and now Niger have taken decisive steps to break away from the influence that France, the former colonizer, continued to exercise upon them after independence. A major manifestation of this was the scrapping of military agreements with France and the expulsion of its troops from the soil, nearly a decade after France intervened militarily in the region under the guise of fighting armed insurgents. These countries have since also undertaken initiatives to gain more control over natural resources and minerals. On December 5th, Mali and Niger followed in the footsteps of Burkina Faso to denounce tax agreements signed with France, citing Paris's persistent hostile attitude towards the two countries, as well as the unbalanced nature of the agreements themselves. What Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger are attempting to do also speaks about the need to address issues of not only political sovereignty but economic and monetary sovereignty, at the core of which is the CFA franc. Concerns of instability and a coup contagion in West Africa, which in part explained the harsh international response to the coup in Niger, are wholly dismissive of the growing public anger in the region against imperialist exploitation, particularly by France. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.